All right, we are live. Today is a Monday, I believe, October 2nd. And here with me, special guest, a guy who has actually helped me so many times. I lost count. I can't even count both hands. That's how many times he's helped me out. Is everyone welcome DB Fassbinder, or is it Darth Bobcat as well?
Yep. Yep.
So I just want to start off with a thank you for coming on to this show, trying being the first interview of mine, and I'll be honest, I'm kind of nervous, but in a good way, not in a bad, because I'm just excited, really.
Oh, yeah, me too. I mean, I think that so my friend Daniel Parker and I have been doing podcasts with different objectives for like a couple of years now. And as far as I'm aware, in all that time, you're the only person that found us through that. So
Yeah, I
you're
maybe
that puts you in a special camp.
yeah, I'm still in the phase of searching for indies, but man, I get into some weird rabbit holes and I'm like, oh, what's this? Then I just go deeper and I start searching through and I start finding like the other, indie
Mhm.
creative stuff and I'm like, okay, this looks interesting. Then I start reading into it. I'm like, oh, what the hell? I might not like it, but I'll pitch some money into it and I'm like, okay, I like this person enough where I want to continue to support them and everything. And Twitter, or should I say X? Uh,
Or as formerly known as Twitter.
yeah, help definitely help with that too, with branching out to people, especially with you and Daniel. And it's been what 2 3 years almost now that I've known you.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Because yeah, there was a lot of streaming going on in 2020, 2021.
Yeah, I actually, you know what? Not trying to sideline everything, but I think that's really how I found you and Daniel because Daniel was doing a stream for his Angels Awakening when it was coming out. I think that's how I found both of y'all. Actually,
That sounds right. Because I think that ultimately that's your no. You're doing a novel. You just are like me, and you have the art bug, where you like to get art of your characters.
oh man, I just that it's a good strategy. That's all I can say.
See, I haven't noticed all that much actual traffic from it. It's just one of those things that's kind of fun just to motivate yourself.
That yeah, and also I think of it as well. Yeah, there's motivation, but I also think of it as a way to reward the fans. Really, like, hey, thank you for buying this book. This is all I can give you, and of course I'm starting out,
Hmm.
and I want you to enjoy this. I want you to have your favorite husbandos and wife, you know. So, at least like, well, that's how I look at it. Maybe I'm overcomplicating things.
Well, I just know that there was a couple of occasions where I decided to commission somebody with a really large audience on the theory that, oh, well, they've got 8,000 followers. I'll make this sort of silly waifu picture. And if just 1% of their followers buy a copy of my book, then it's worthwhile, right? But that 1% theory never seems to pan out.
Yeah, I
I,
mean,
probably because, as somebody pointed out, the audience who's on Twitter looking at pictures of anime girls probably aren't big book readers.
that's true. I just, I like to try whatever. I like to
Yep.
take those risks. And as a man, whoa, is that who I think that is,
Oh
bro?
wow, Daniel Parker has appeared in the chat.
Oh wow, Daniel has appeared. Welcome, welcome, and it's good to see you, Daniel. But oh gosh, well, I'm kind of getting sidetracked here. So let's get into it, man. I got some questions for you, and my first one is, what got you into writing? What started it all?
I always had, just from a young age, this idea that I wanted to tell stories. I remember I used to have this dates me a little bit. I used to have a tape recorder where I'd make up what were probably really incoherent stories about like cartoons I liked at the time.
Okay. All right.
Um,
Wow.
that,
Wow, that's something. Wow,
that
that's
then I
awesome.
got yeah, then I got into fan fiction in high school. Then off and on. My issue over the years was always that I was better at coming up with ideas than actually knuckling down and writing them. Because
Yeah.
okay, there's like this class of people who they don't seem to actually have an interest in making a story. They're just interested in world building for its own sake. And
Like
I wasn't,
oh, I'm sorry.
and I can't think of a specific example, but there's people I know who have that interest more. Or
That's
like,
kind of like it. Kind of reminds me of D&D with the
yeah,
world
yeah, it's
building aspect.
right. The type of instinct where I'm sure there's an audience of people out there who buy D&D source books and design things, but then never actually DM a game or play a game just because they like the process.
Yeah.
I've met people who are kind of similar with their own world building projects, but and then a few years back, I I had again, I had never really finished a story. That was my thing with fanfics was that unless it was a short story, I always left it dangling just because I hit a point of, yeah, does anybody really want to read this? A little bit of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Then I started writing a fantasy novel that isn't Magpie Wizard, but I had some sort of cloud corruption and with Microsoft Word, and
Um.
it was like the weirdest thing. It didn't destroy it, but what it would do is like it would just when I came back to it, it would have like overwritten chunks of it, and it'd have like the same thing written over and over again. And I've never seen that before or since, thank God. So
Wow.
like I was
And
like,
what
this is
version of that? What like?
well. So I was writing at work during down periods, so I was using their browser-based Microsoft Word, the free one,
Of course.
kind of like their Gmail. But like again, it's weird. I just didn't never. I've used that plenty of times in work and personal life. It just never had that happen before. So then so I was like, I was feeling pretty down because I'd written like 50 pages of this thing that I ultimately couldn't use, and I didn't feel like rewriting. Uh, then Magpie Wizard was like me just okay. So everyone talks about in anime the trend of isekai, right? Where
Yeah.
everything's an isekai. So many isekai. There's literally an isekai about a guy being a vending machine.
Yeah. Don't remind
Um,
me.
Yeah. Okay. That sidebar. When I saw that particular story on Kindle, I'd had some ideas of how to parody how ridiculous isekai stories are, or for those who aren't weeby, fantasy stories where somebody is transported to a fantasy world, like a Narnia type thing.
Okay.
But there were so many these isekai stories, and I had this ridiculous idea, and I might go back to eventually about this guy who gets the banjo of destruction in the idea is that it's like the nuclear option. So it's unclear if he actually has this legendary banjo of destruction, or if he's just has a regular banjo and he's just very good at bluffing his way out of situations. I went, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. And then I saw the vending machine isekai and I said, oh, this genre is beyond parody. Okay.
Yeah. I,
Um,
I won't. I won't lie. I have one where I have a book where he's a kind of a guy being reincarnated into an S rank beast, and he's like a behemoth or something. But
mhm.
he's like a baby. He's like a baby behemoth that's like slowly leveling up and growing. I was like, oh my gosh. That's all I'm gonna say. If you know, you know.
Yeah. Um, but anyways, so I mentioned that because everybody has forgotten the trend in light novels that was going on before isekai blew up, which was what if Harry Potter but more military and with boobs?
Wow.
Like
Wow.
there were like I could think of at least a half dozen series that I've watched or seen reference to that basically follow that. Dragonar Academy. Um, let's see here. Irregular Magic High School. And you know what they all have in common?
What you just listed?
Yeah, like all these like military Harry Potter school, but with older kids thing or older teens thing.
Mm.
They're all pretty awful, like just from an
Oh,
objective level. And I was
God.
like, I keep wanting to like these things, but it just never works out. So I kind of did the Thanos thing and said, okay, fine, I'll make my own.
So you literally made Magpie Wizard out of spite in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
So that I guess that answers the second question I had lined up was what got you into making the series, and I guess we got a 2-for-1 deal.
Well, I can go into more to it than that because there's like three or four big influences on Magpie Wizard. So that was one that trend of light novel based anime that I didn't find a single one I actually liked,
Hmm.
even though it seems like a pretty solid concept, right?
Right.
Um, Another one was I was actually into Ruby at the time, which boy, that series has fallen off.
Oh man. Whew. Yeah.
But that's why they're the Grim Horde is just a little nod to them.
Okay, I wondered that. I kind of wondered if that was like a little nod to it or not, but I was like, no, let's not, get
The,
ahead of
the,
ourselves.
no, DB has more taste than that. No, he doesn't.
Am I so out of touch? No, it's them.
Um, so those are the two like the big weeby influences. Of course, there's Harry Potter, but I don't know. Like, so I almost there is one like really explicit, or actually no, decidedly not explicit reference to Harry Potter in the books. Um, and it says it's an inside joke that only I know about and people I tell to. So this will be something for your audience.
Oh man,
Uh, Headmaster Tachibana is gay, but it will never be mentioned in the series
of course, of
because
course.
because Dumbledore.
Yeah, I kind of, when you mentioned Harry Potter, that's what I was kind of thinking of when the main character, Soren Marlowe. That's how I pronounce it.
Yep, Marlowe.
Marlowe. Kind of gets into this altercation, this confrontation with a certain character. I don't want to spoil it for people. Where basically he's like, "Oh man, uh, I need to. Why? I'm basically like I have a tight leash around my neck now, and if I mess up, the secret's out basically." So that's why I kind of like picture like a female version of Snape, and I'm just like I don't know. That's all I'm gonna say for the character. I don't want to spoil. I'm trying not to spoil too much. But man, that was a great ending to the first book in some sort of way. Again, not spoiling. Just
Yeah, that was fun. The, so those are kind of like the weeby or normal influences you'd expect.
mhm.
Um, Next big influence was C.S. Lewis's The Screw Tape Letters.
I think I remember you talking about that before.
Yeah, like
When
I'm sure that the C.S. Lewis estate would be very unhappy that I'm using some of the. I'm using some of the. Actually, the biggest thing I borrowed from them was so for those who don't know, the Screw Tape Letters is um, a series of it's not both sides of the letters, but it's basically a mature demon named Screwtape sending letters to his nephew, or was Screwtape the nephew? I want to say it was Screwtape was the uncle. It's been like 20 years.
hmm,
But in those books, it's basically about an elder tempter writing to his trainee nephew uh, about how to tempt people. And so it's like And there's actually a few characters in the books who are influenced by C.S. Lewis's essays and philosophies, like the character Maggie Edwards, where she is convinced that she is the wronged one, even though she's kind of objectively a monster.
Hmm.
She's based on his vision of Napoleon in hell, with maps of Waterloo all around him, forever trying to figure out how he could have won, and raging at Robespierre and Josephine and everyone else who ever wronged him, completely unable to recognize that he bore the brunt of the blame for his fall.
Okay. Okay. Hmm. So that kind of delves into my next question. Wow, you got like a sense, man, or something like you
Uh,
can't just
Actually, last one before we continue.
yeah.
But like the big reference, and people who have read this immediately pick up on it. Have you ever heard of the Flashman Papers?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
I am heavily influenced by those. I actually heard about them on the Andrew Klavan podcast many, many years ago, and proceeded to get all the audiobooks. There's one I never did get around to finishing, but that's because they got a different narrator than the rest of them, and he wasn't as much fun to listen to. Which, considering it was a series that started in the 70s, it's not surprising they'd eventually switched editions or something like that.
I
But
didn't. I didn't
the
realize
Flashman
that.
Papers are the confessions of a British cavalry officer who had the good or bad luck to be at just about every major battle or every major military catastrophe of the 19th century, and he always managed to escape by being a complete and abject coward.
Hmm.
So I think that was like the secret sauce. Like what Soren is actually Soren is a better person than Flashman. Half devil or no.
And that's not even a high bar, really. That's just
Yeah,
when you think about it. Oh boy.
but
So
yeah. So that's basically just that's the mix that became Magpie Wizard.
I got you. That's it's good to get that insight of how all these influences became into one thing. And now I'm just taking my time with the second book. I just got to chapter 16.
Okay.
I'm savoring it. I'm just like I don't want to. I was kind of upset. I'll be honest. I was kind of upset that I finished the first one. I'm just like it's great. I don't. I was like, man, I want to read back through it. But okay, anyway. The next question: how did you come up with the characters like Soren, Rose, all of them?
Let's see. So Soren is so I think that what like both what those last two literary influences were, it like what they really contributed to it was just the whole idea of the narrator who is alternately like honest and reliable, even if he's exposing his own faults, but also can try to tilt things to make himself look a little better.
Yeah.
Like extremely cynical. I think C.S. Lewis even made a comment about it was almost too easy to write from the demonic perspective because it's it's all the thoughts that everybody has up here.
Yeah. So, wow. I can see it. I just knowing how Soren is and everything. Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so it's so Soren was was the sardonic narrator who like usually tells it like it is, but occasionally it's fun to just have him dance around things, but in like a really obvious way that fools nobody.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Now the rest of the cast, Rose. Okay, so this is going to be kind of funny considering that Rose is just about everybody's favorite character. Rose was kind of a spontaneous choice.
Really.
Rose's character was actually originally going to be, I want to say his name was going to be Ronald Cooper, Reggie Cooper, something like that. And if you remember in the book, Kowalski kind of like the the unconfident guy. That was going to be Rose's place. Like they're going to be just basically Soren's little male lackey. But a friend of mine had been writing a story, and my thing is more explicitly romantic and everything, and his was more action. And I was getting jealous that he had gotten to the part where there were the female love interests floating around. And so, and I happened to be writing those chapters, and I said, there's no reason I can't just magic up, like, well, why bother? Why have chicken when you can have steak, right?
Right.
So Reggie was out the door. Rose was in.
I it's wow. I would have never thought that. Wow,
Well,
kind of blow my mind.
it's also okay. Reggie's role in things is completely different than Rose's. Like once I invented Rose, like any remnants of the Reggie character basically became Kowalski.
All I gotta say is, gosh darn it, Kowalski. Gosh darn it. That's all I gotta say. God.
He's kind of fun. Like if there's a character in the stories that's my self insert, that's him. Like just how I feel. Just like that imposter syndrome I had, especially when I was younger.
Oh boy.
Lack of self confidence, etc.
Yeah. I
Um,
wow.
so that's how that character came to be. But what you're probably asking is about the main hero harem group. Um, and part of the thought process behind Magpie Wizard was, all right, so just about any harem anime out there, you're going to have a few character archetypes, and they might be combined in different ways, but you're going to have the basic tsundere character who's just kind of the average girl that the average Japanese boy wants to take home to mom.
Mhm.
You're going to have you're going to have like a weird lowly for lack of a better term.
Okay.
You're going to have kind of the older sister slash motherly one.
Of course.
Um, and I guess in that context, Rose would kind of be the wild card. This is the one where it's more creative character.
Yeah, I think I was hooked on her when you mentioned the ozone layer, and you're like, oh, something's about to happen, and all of a sudden, just freaking storm just hits Soren and everybody else. It's like Soren's like, oh no, like turn it off, turn it off.
Yeah, yeah. Rose's powers are a source of a lot of fun. Um, but anyway, so every one of these harem series, the winner is always the basic tsundere girl who basically looks like what a Japanese boy would want to bring home to mom.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
and part of my thought process was, what would it look like in a series if somebody dated the peripheral characters in the harem?
and so that's how we got into these other girls and everything. And wow, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm formatting it in my head, and I'm just like thinking of, because you got so many female characters, and I'm just like, I can kind of see the resemblance in some, but man, boy, are they vastly different with just how they treat Soren and how
Yeah,
Soren treats them.
yeah, right. Where Yukiko is kind of hostile to him from the start, and
Oh, I wonder why.
yeah, um, and Yukiko is kind of weirdly full of herself in places, but also extremely unconfident. Um, Mariko is just kind of gently turns him down and then is willing to help him out.
Yeah, she's cool. She really is cool.
Um, let's see here. Then Biz Edwards, well, I already said that she's kind of the self-proclaimed victim of her own actions, even
Yeah,
though she would never acknowledge that.
yeah.
Let's see.
We got Kyo. Can't forget about Kyo.
Right. Kyo is the excuse me, I thought I had it muted. Kyo is the shy gamer girl, and basically it's like, what would happen if you tried to force the shy gamer girl out of her shell?
I'm laughing because y'all. I read the book obviously, but I'm laughing because it's a whole adventure with that girl. There's I'm just like I just that one makes me feel like should I feel sorry for her or should I just like I don't know how to like but at the end of it I'm like look this is a likable character. I don't hate her. I
Mhm.
find her weird at times? Oh yeah, definitely.
That's on purpose. Funny thing. So I have a Goodreads page, and I believe you basically, if you self-publish anything on Amazon, it eventually gets around to making a Goodreads page for the book.
Mm.
And one of the 3-star reviews I have on there um, seems to be trying to shame me for my dialogue. And all the examples of bad dialogue in the book were Keo. It's like, hmm, gee, hmm.
Like
It's like there was an intentional point of making a character who talked like she had been raised on Discord and Xbox chat.
I'm like, have you not noticed a theme here? Like,
That everybody else sounds more or less normal, and then there's just the one character.
yeah, God, I can't believe that, but at the same time, I can, knowing how the internet is nowadays.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you put anything out there, and you hit a certain amount of like threshold of people actually noticing you. And I'm not big at all, but like I have like a couple hundred readers on Railroad or whatnot, and you're going to get some people who don't get the joke or don't get the point of what you're trying to do. And you just kind of have to accept it. Now, if they cross some lines, like I had somebody who gave me a 1-star review, like trying to tank the rating on the site
Oh my
because
God.
quote, I hate stories where they give away the ending at the start, and it's like, have you never heard of a memoir before?
I mean, come on, they do it in movies, and they're oh man,
Yeah, like I got that review taken down because it was completely unfair. But so
yeah, that was just okay.
complete nonsense.
I can man, I tell you, some people just need to read, like just read it, man, just read.
Yeah, or like think for a minute about why a thing might be being done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're not allowed to think these days. You gotta
Yeah,
go with the flow or something. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on, but
uh,
we're not getting to that.
yeah, yeah. So, oh, and Hero is everybody thinks he's Deku from My Hero Academia, which there's some of that in there, but he's also based on Ikki from Chivalry of a Failed Knight, where he has the powers that aren't all that great, but he's amazing if he can concentrate them in short bursts.
Yeah, Hero. I want to like Hero, but at the same time, that dude, he gets on my nerves. Because I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
The answer is being too nice. That's usually his problem.
Yeah.
And I'm having fun in the current book, and I actually have a short story idea that starring him. It's going to deal with the fact that he's been ambushed and had enough awful crap happen to him that while he wants to be happy-go-lucky all the time, he's going to actually be like somewhat paranoid in a lot of situations.
Okay, that's gonna be interesting because this is the same guy. Again, I'm not gonna spoil. I'm not gonna spoil, but I am gonna make this statement. This is the same guy, I believe, who almost killed a certain character because he was not careful enough.
Yeah, like and the funny thing is, like in this later book, which is actually the one I'm writing right now, at one point they have a power outage while they're out and about at a train station, and he actually takes Soren aside to go, "Okay, you aren't responsible for this, right?" because the pattern has told him that when the power goes out, it's an enemy attack about to happen, and Soren might be involved.
The nerve the guy has, I swear. That guy is a piece of work at times. I swear he is. Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
To be fair, I think it's earned at this point, especially after the first four books in the series.
Yeah, heck, even with when he was training with Soren, I can understand. I can understand that too. I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus.
But let's see here. So that's all the major characters. That I think that covers where they all came from. They're all basically me kind of going, here are these archetypes that you see in a lot of these harem series or other, battle girlfriend series or whatever. And like, what would somebody actually have to be like to all quietly try to pursue the same guy and and not like make an overt move? And the basic answer is that you have people who have a certain amount of passivity and are just trying to be polite and nice and actually like the other people in their group too, so they don't want to hurt their feelings.
Yeah, that was a interesting structure how you did that. I kind of was on board, but at the same time not. Like I was just like, man, I was like, it's just. I'm like, really, as like hero of all people. That's I have a bias towards hero. Obviously, I do not like. I just that man, that dude, that. Sometimes I like him, and sometimes I'm just like, dude, come on now.
See, everybody has places to grow.
Yeah. I mean, you're that's a tell in my opinion. I think that's a great sign right there. Like you did a good job with that character because man, sometimes I really want to just give him a good old backhand. Maybe a little strangle like Homer. Why you?
Why you little?
But yeah, I mean that's interesting to know about how you came with these characters. Uh, Especially now, I'm gonna keep that in mind with when I continue reading on with book two and take my time with it because I don't want to go too. I don't want to be too fast with it. On to the next question. Is there a style of writing you adapted over? Like I know you did. You talked about the letters and all that, but do you like tend to change it up with each book or a certain book like mainline or spinoffs?
Let's see. So far as spin-offs go, I have published one that actually stars Rose, which has its ups and downs. The up of that is that boy, did she get a lot of attention there. The downside is it's actually taken her away from the main series for two books
Mm,
because she was kind of stranded on a desert island run by cultists for a few months there.
okay. Okay. I'm gonna be reading that book when I can.
But one moment, let me just see if there's anything. I gotta take this. I'll be right back.
Alrighty. I love the technical difficulties, man. I do. I'll be honest. But I guess to my viewers, I'm doing this solo for a little bit until he returns. Anyway, this is live. I love it when things just kind of I won't say chaotic, but there's just a little bit of a little flip of the switch and then things are just like, oh boy, we're upside down now. This ain't too bad. It could be worse. Could be like actually I'm not gonna say because I'll be giving you guys some ideas. And I don't want that. So how's everybody? Anyone says, "Oh, okay." Daniel says this usually only happens on our show. Man, you cursed me.
All right, I'm back. Just
Oh,
just my
awesome.
grandfather calling. I'm going over to see him and my grandmother in a couple of days. So they wanted to know what my order was for their retirement homes menu.
Yeah, I was just saying to Daniel. He says this usually only happens on our
Yes.
show with the, and I said, "Oh, you cursed me."
Yep. Yep. Um, although to be fair, today I have had a few phone calls from people, so it's not like they only called during showtime.
You're pretty popular.
But let's see here. Where was I? Oh yeah. So I kind of kept a similar sort of style for the Rose book. Uh, I find that I like writing in first person the best. I don't know why that is, and I think part of that is just everybody has something that speaks to them. Like I know people who love third person and hate first person. I don't hate third person, but I find it awkward to write in. I had a novel that I haven't published yet because I'm going to give it a heavy rewrite called Champion of the Orca Princess that I wrote in third person, and it kept feeling really awkward to me. Probably just because I had at that point 5 books worth of Magpie Wizard first person experience.
Yeah, I can't wait to read that one too.
Yeah, that one. So the other thing I found about myself is that I'm kind of a discovery writer, in that I will usually have a start and an end, but the middle can kind of drift on me.
Okay.
In the
So,
Orca Princess, like Magpie Wizard, actually, I wrote a novel that basically had the time span of the first 4 books in a single book that
all
I
right.
eventually split up and rewrote and turned into what you have there for the first 4 books of the series.
Okay. Okay. I I sort of recall you telling me that probably like a year ago, maybe, with how that happened. That's
Yeah, it had some benefits, like that whole thing with Yukiko in the first book was not in the original draft much at all.
yeah. I could totally relate with my stuff. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like so. It is very important. Like even if you have cool ideas, you need the space to let them breathe. Um, on our show last week, Daniel and I reviewed their newest Ninja Turtles movie. Yeah, and I'd say like, besides it being heavily involved with Seth Rogen, which is kind of a mark against it right out of the gate. I think that the bigger thing is that it's like they had the Bible for the first season of a TV show, and they had to smush it into 90 minutes, which there were some nice ideas in there, but they just had to play them on fast forward.
Mm-mm. I I wouldn't. I'll be honest. I wouldn't know a darn thing about that movie. I as soon as saw some of the character designs, I'm like I'm cool. I'm missing it, but I get what you're coming from with ideas. I'm sorry, with ideas the first time around, and then like okay, I need to revisit this because it's nagging. It's like it's something in the back of my head. Like man, you got to change this up. Two,
Mhm.
when you actually do look at it and you read the scene or the chapter, you're like, yeah, I got to redo this, man. It's bothering me that bad that I need to rewrite that whole chapter, possibly, maybe even more.
Yeah, and I'm no stranger to those types of major overhauls. Books 3 and 4 were at one time going to be a single book, but then I hit the end of I hit like 60,000 words into book 3, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm still in Act 1. um, Time to restructure things.
Yeah,
So,
time to split or something.
and what's funny about it is that I have had people go, well, the villain of book 3 isn't all that intimidating. It's like, well, you see, there's a undergoing structural reason for that. That was supposed to be the Act 1 action beat for one thing, but also that like so the series is very much about Soren, aka Malthus's growth as a person. So sometimes the greatest enemy isn't necessarily the thing that's trying to uh, punch him in the face or take him down with a magic missile.
Right.
Sometimes the greatest enemy is himself, and that was the case in book 3.
I mean, it's funny. Well, I'm not saying funny, but I meant like it's interesting that you mentioned that too because that was kind of a he's even in book two he still gets in his own way. Book one, it was very evident, especially when he was trying to learn how to integrate with uh, humanity, and
Mhm.
he's like, it's now that he's gotten better at it, he still has his little flaws. But I will say, actually no, because that's gonna be spoiler. Damn. But I really like that man versus self nature with Soren. I just it's more of a it's an interesting growth to his character, really, other than the shenanigans he does.
Yeah. If I had to sum up Soren in a single sentence, it would be I forget which of the apostles of St. Paul it was, but it was the line, "That which I would not do, I do, and that which I would do, I do not." Or maybe I
Yeah,
have that reversed,
yeah,
but the
that's
basic idea.
that's Soren. That's Soren. And
Yeah.
are you thinking about ever doing like a box set collection?
So that's one of those things that so I don't really actually sell all that many print copies. I have considered doing like a all of the books once I'm done with it as a digital thing. I'd have to look into how Amazon handled box sets to make sure that it was well handled right.
Yeah. I asked because I just got Atticus like a few days ago, and they have an
Mhm.
option where it gives you like box sets, and I'm just like, I was just playing around trying to understand it, and I'm just like, it's pretty cool for a writing software, a program or software or whatever the hell you want to call it, to have that be available and be an option. And
Mhm.
I just been learning it for a few days, and I really like it. I'm not sure if you have it, but I think you could like it. I think you would like it. I mean,
You said Atticus.
Atticus.
Yeah, I haven't really played. I haven't tried that one before. Like as far as the tools I use, so my covers are made by somebody on Fiverr named Olivia. She basically she has a subscription to this place called Deposit Photos, and you can ask for elements from certain or from any photo on there, and she'll just Photoshop them, make you a font, and all that good stuff. Um, I used to use Scrivener for my paperback and ebook publishing, but they updated Scrivener at some point, and all of the settings that I had saved uh, just no longer gave me good output. And that actually delayed the print edition of book three by a year.
Wow.
Because I spent like literally weeks trying to figure out how to tweak the output. What it turned out was that the pages weren't being mirrored, but people who had looked at the screenshots I was posting didn't figure that out.
Oh.
So like like when you open up a book, like it's not this like the left and the right pages don't have the same borders; they have mirrored borders. Or they'll both have a big gutter in the middle and then narrow borders on the sides.
Yeah.
For some reason, I just could never make Scrivener do that ever again after the update. And I'm sure it's there, but the documentation, I know people who love Scrivener, including Daniel, but it just for whatever reason, just could not ever make it work. So I ended up switching over to good old Microsoft Word, which actually has streamlined my production a bit.
Yeah, and I will say this, I do like their dictation option as well on Word, reading it, having it be read out to you, and you're listening to it, and you catch that one thing like, oh wait, that's not right.
I haven't
That
really
that helps
tried
a lot.
that. That's a good idea, though.
I I I set up the speed for it, and of course the voice, and I'm just like, that's what got me into a little bit of the like, okay, maybe I want to invest someday into doing audio books just in case, for people who are not only illiterate but those who like, okay, I don't want to physically read the book because I'm working a lot, or or whatever. I'd rather just listen to it and just go about my day while I listen to it, exercising while I listen to it, everything.
I see where you're coming from. I'm a big fan of audiobooks too. Like I just finished up a book called Numbers Go Up about the whole crypto craze a couple years back.
Mm.
That was amusing. The guy actually had to buy an NFT ape to get into a party, and he had to explain to his wife what an NFT was and why he was spending the whole book advance on one.
Oh my gosh.
Um, but that's off topic. I've looked into audiobooks. I just haven't ever committed to it because the people I've talked to have bigger audiences than I do. I tend to have a hard time breaking even on it because there's a few different ways you can structure it. One method is like you can either pay the person or studio who does the recording up front. You own 100% of the proceeds, but that's kind of risky because what if you can spend like 1,000, 2,000 depending on the length of your book,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's a lot of copies you got to sell to break even on that.
Yeah.
Um, so the more traditional method not actually the all the way up front is probably the traditional method, but the method that a lot of indie writers use is they'll have different revenue splits. So the idea is that, okay, instead of paying you $2,000 up front, I'll pay you $200 up front, and then you get 50% of the proceeds of sales from here on forward.
Yeah. And that can also work. And of course,
Right.
well, the
And
third option and all that.
it's basically the people doing the recordings rolling the dice a little bit. Like, do you want the sure thing or do you put it all on black? Do you think I'm going to sell more copies of this audiobook than your fixed fee would have been?
Yeah, it's always a risk, but I mean, hell, the reward is so sweet too.
Yeah, I mean that is kind of the nice thing once you get a series up and running. Um, like, do you know who Comics Perch is, the YouTuber?
No, I do not.
So I've been following him for a while. He is what I would call when he showed up, he really cooled down the temperature of comic book YouTube
Okay.
because he was an actual comic book store owner, so he was able to bust some myths out there.
So
And
he was kind of like, I'm sorry, he's kind of like neurotic in a way because he owned a comic book store too, but I'm not sure.
right, although he's more like I would describe him as a sensible liberal rather than neurotic, who's kind of more right wing.
Mm,
And but he also doesn't let the politics get in the way of common sense. So it's because, of course, he ran a store for many years at a profit. So he isn't the type to buy a bunch of unsellable comics because he doesn't want people to yell at him.
right.
I bring him up because he did these sales analysis videos for a bunch of comic books. It's like he would take a look at the whole of Saga or something like that. And what he always noticed was that the first volume of a big series is pretty much always the big seller because it's like book one comes out, it drifts down, book two comes out, book two might be selling more, but book one will get a boost at the same time because people go, oh, there's a book two on the shelf, I wonder what this thing is. And it's like over the course of a series you sell more of book one than anything else. So technically, book one is continuing to give me that sweet sweet money at a at a lower level, and it spikes up whenever I have a new book come out.
That's fascinating to think about.
Yeah, like
How important.
something I wrote originally in 2017 and revised in 2019 is still my overall bestseller most years.
That's impressive. That shows you the power of the first book, y'all.
Yep. It also shows you the power of a series because I have friends who self-publish just one show, like standalone stories. He doesn't do series at all, and it's completely scattershot what the audience actually connects to. And just because they liked, June's book doesn't mean they'll go for August's book.
Yeah, I what I'm trying to put into this is that when I was doing my own little research with Amazon and indie publishers, they've mentioned that a book series usually does better than one offs, and that's because what you explained is that, oh, there's a book two, there's a book three, whatever. Well,
Hmm.
we gotta I gotta read this book first.
Yep. And maybe they never get around to book 2 or 3, but they still bought or read book 1.
Yep.
Like I gotta imagine that, say, the first volume of One Piece has got to just be one of the best sellers of all time, because there's always somebody who just wants to find out what this rubber pirate is about.
Yeah, or in berserk terms, just like, oh, okay, well, I know about this, but let's see. I want to see how it begins, and then the first page is literally him just, yeah.
Yeah, I have a buddy who's really into Berserk, and I picked up the first couple of volumes. I've never gotten too far into them. I mean, partially it's because I know the ending, so maybe I'm a hypocrite about that one guy who said, "Man, I hate books where you know where it ends."
Yeah, and it's just the way how Miura structured it too. Like that, it's like, well, he's already deep into that one phase of his life, so then it's like, okay, you literally gotta work yourself backwards, kind of, to uh to understand like what fully happened if you don't know.
Yep. Let's see. Yeah, I kind of forgot what question we were answering, or as I think I kind of drifted off into a bunch of semi-related topics.
It's all right. I just want to get I want to get to this one because I think this is pretty important for anybody who wants to be an author, or they're trying to be one, and they're like neck deep in their book, and they're like, okay, I need some pointers. Which is what tips would you give aspiring or soon to be authors?
Let's see here. Read a lot of books in the genre that you're going to write in, because you can tell somebody who, how to put it. Okay, have you ever seen Neon Genesis Evangelion?
Yes, I wanted to follow a specific order. Then when I found out that certain editions weren't available, I became pissed off, and I just said, I don't want to watch this anymore. I
So the reason I bring that up is that I always heard it all those years as, oh, this is a big send up to all those silly giant robot anime. And I think everybody had, like, especially because they really hadn't brought very many of them over to the West when that came out in the 90s and 2000s. Like, they had this idea of the show that they were parodying or making fun of or subverting. And then I actually, like, many years later, I didn't end up watching like a whole lot of them, but I ended up, being exposed to a wide slice of them from the 70s and 80s and 90s. And what I've concluded is that the show that the Western viewer had in their head that Evangelion was deconstructing didn't actually exist. Because most of those giant robot shows were actually, okay, there were some goofy kiddie ones, but there were also a bunch that were like Gundam, where it was like more slightly grounded, right? There was always like, it was more serious than you'd get the impression of.
yeah,
Uh, so Evangelion, whatever you want to say about it, it knew what it was poking at, but it's like thinking that you know The Godfather because The Simpsons made enough references to it. Yeah, you might know some of the lines, and I remember hearing on the commentary that they've argued that they've argued that you could probably clip together a whole cut of The Godfather Part Two from Simpsons parody moments, especially at this point,
wow.
because there's a lot of them. But
I did I didn't know that.
yeah. Uh, th- but what I found is, like, where I get in trouble is where I go off of third-hand information.
Okay.
Where, like, would I be a good person to write a Western movie or Western novel? Not at this point, because I haven't really immersed myself in it too much. I've seen some, but it's like I enjoyed the occasional Western, but I haven't seen enough to really comment on it. Like I wouldn't have a unique concept. Um, whereas, say, oh, fantasy sci-fi like Star Wars or BattleTech or whatnot, where it's like you have, I think I could take a stab at something like that and have something unique to say. It's like you think you have something unique to say, but if you haven't actually immersed yourself too much in the genre you want to poke at, you're going to be like the equivalent of, I think these hamburgers from McDonald's may not be the best quality burgers around. It's time for an expose. When like everybody who's like in the burger aficionado movement goes, uh, yeah, that's kind of obvious, man.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really need a documentary like Super Size Me to show us that. I
Yeah.
just like, yeah, that's common sense.
He says drinking from a McDonald's cup that he is continuing to add Diet Coke to.
The hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And Daniel says, "That's a nice donut."
That that's a nice donut. That's that's the Godfather moment in The Simpsons. Um, Now, it's okay. Okay, so like the reason you want to read a lot in the genre you're interested in is because, again, you don't want to have pedestrian concepts and think that you're, well, hot shit because you had it. Like, there's so many. I would also say that writers Twitter or writers X at this point, um, if you pay attention to how they write, they talk about writing as if it's something that they don't really do and find difficult to do. That's a learned behavior. That might actually just be a Twitter addiction that is manifesting itself as you know um, in other ways. Like, oh, I want to go writing. Like, are you on writers Twitter because you're a writer and you want to connect with other writers, or are you on writers Twitter because it's a pose?
Yeah, I I seen a little bit of that, and I said no, thank you.
Yeah, like, now mind you, I still go out there and connect occasionally, but avoid writing communities that don't act like writing is important, or
Yeah,
that talk about writing like, oh, you got 200 words down today? Good job, buddy.
yeah. I think that's what kind of like. I think that's really what drew me. I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. Let me just stick around with the people who actually make comics and be that one black sheep that's actually just work on a novel.
Yeah, um, that's your immerse yourself in your genre, actually write, accept that the first thing you write is going to be probably crap. In fact, almost certainly crap, because most things that you do, um, you're not going to do a good job the first time. Like if you're knitting a sweater, you're probably going to screw up the size of the neck hole or make the arms too thin or something. Uh, But unlike the person trying to make a sweater, you can always, go into Word or Google Docs or whatever you use uh, and fix yourself up.
Yeah, that seems like, hey, I'll take that solid advice. I mean, even though I've been with dark fantasy and all types of fantasies for a long time now, so I knew what I was getting into, especially with
Mhm.
having these ideas for almost 10 years now. Maybe it is 10 years, but yeah,
Yep. The other thing is that the other benefit that reading a lot of stuff in your genre will give you is that you'll get an idea of common vocabulary, common turns of phrase, um, which you can either go into or avoid, because you kind of want your book to be as frictionless as possible for your ideal reader. So, like, I'm gonna make up an example here. let's say it was genre convention in dark fantasy to refer to dark elves as cream puffs. I don't know. Like, we'll just go with that. Like every single novel about when they talk about dark elves, they're always cream puffs. This is an absurd example, but it's just to prove a point. Would you be better off, you know, railing against that? That's stupid. Why would I call a dark elf a cream puff? That doesn't even make sense. Then you look into it online, and it turns out it's a reference to a 13-year-old meme that everyone has kept up with. Are you better off fighting against it, or if you have a dark elf in your book, would you be better off just going with cream puff?
I don't know. I like knife ears more.
Yeah, right. See, that's an actual sensible one. I'm using the. I'll just say that my nonsense example exemplifies the point. Like, maybe you're the guy who takes the brave stand against calling dark elves cream puffs, and you tilt the genre. Or you could be the guy who goes against the genre conventions. Everyone goes, "Oh man, I want the cream puffs."
Yeah, yeah. It's always something. It's like that's just how it is with all that.
Uh, my practical example there is I had talked about isekai novels earlier. I'd had an idea at some point to try to write one of those, or a gamelet, which is basically the Western equivalent of an isekai story. And what I concluded was that so I'd actually tried a bunch of these series as audiobooks, and with very few exceptions, I could never will myself to go past the first novel. Because most of those series, so they're basically a novelized version of either a video game or a board game, where the characters level up and they gain skills, and it's all in a numerical progression or whatnot, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And there's always like this scrappy underdog phase that I find interesting, before they level up much. It's like, oh, like say the isekai novel, I'm a spider, so what? Um, about halfway through the second novel, the spider character had leveled up enough that nothing really felt all that interesting anymore. Like she was gaining too many powers and she could do too much, and nothing was really being presented to fight against her or oppose her in any significant way.
So,
And
oh man.
it's like it was too easy for her, and like I was getting tired of the number charts and the level up charts and the lists of skills. Well, guess what? There's thousands of those types of game isekai and lit RPG books out there and things like that. Clearly, there's a big audience for that. And that's kind of where I decided to stay away from that. Like I was joking about it being beyond parody earlier with the whole Banjo of Destruction thing. But I think a bigger part of it was realizing, I don't actually like this genre as much as I thought I would.
Yeah, isekai is a slippery slope for me. Maybe there's one or two that I really like, and the rest are just a flat
Yeah.
line.
Right. So it's like you're not a fan of isekai in and of itself. You're a fan of a particular series. I think it's also important to realize what you like. Like, I was going to bring this up earlier. Another key point: you have an audience. Your audience is not everybody.
Right.
Uh, it is very tempting to go, well, anybody would like my novel, but no. I firmly know that there are people in this world who don't like this novel. They have told me this.
Leave a 1-star review.
Yeah.
You told me the ending.
Uh, and so, you know, in software development, they'll make up a user story, which is basically you'll have you have your software, and you go, okay, who is going to be the user of our software, and what problems are they trying to solve? Like, Steve is a landscaper. How will our new smartphone app help him?
So yeah, I see what you're dropping there. I see what. Yeah, I mean,
So
there's somebody. I'm sorry.
you almost have to make your ideal reader. And like, I think for Magpie Wizard, my ideal reader would be somebody who,
Like me.
well, yes, but it, besides DRHINO, uh, By the way, how often do you get called DRHINO?
Oh man, I missed it, to be honest. Call me Dr. Hino, DRHINO. I even had some guy call me DRHINO.
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 That sounds like a good fantasy name or a good fantasy race. He's from the north. He's a DRHINO.
Oh gosh.
Uh,
But let's get back to
but
it.
but like I think my ideal reader would be somebody who was a fan of anime, but one like thought about it a little bit more, or like was interested in poking at the genre a bit. Because like while I do kind of function as a harem anime, um, there's never really a fully developed harem. Like there, so spoiler alert right now, the series is not going to end with Soren or Hero ending up with every single girl at the same
You
time.
no, you told me the ending. 1-star review.
Oh man, I'll just go.
Yeah, I yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer obviously, but I'm really curious, who chooses who. I'm really curious. Uh but if I'm kind of going to the hour here and everything, but I really want to ask this question next.
I got plenty of time if you do.
Man, I got a little bit. I got a little bit left. But how many mainline books do you plan on writing?
So I think with the overall plan, so the thing is, it is Soren's life. So I could go, in the prologue, he's in, I believe, his 90s. So in theory, I could, and after 6 books, I have not yet covered a year in universe.
So much can happen.
um, so I could, in theory, keep going at the same rate and end up with a 70-book series. Nobody wants a 70-book series.
No.
I don't want to write a 70-book series. The readers don't want a 70-book series because at a certain point, it would start getting redundant. Uh, my currently I'm thinking that it's going to be a total of 8 books because if the story is about his unwilling redemption, um, I have an idea for what the ultimate like what would be the ultimate rejection of his old self, because he keeps doing it in stages through the book. Like in the book that you read, he he thinks himself as a rational devil who's out for number one,
Hmm.
and he throws himself into serious danger to save someone at the end.
Yes. Yep.
He didn't think he had that in him. So that's like the first Rubicon crossed. Yeah, Daniel, there's going to be quite a bit of time skipping. I've already skipped a couple of months in book 6 to get away from some, and then they were in basic training. Now we're having some of that, but you don't need every single day of basic training. I mean, of course, a chunk of why it's so slow is because I am just developing the characters and the relationships. And it's like you do need some of that blow by blow. But I think at this point I'm gonna finish it up at book 8, maybe book 9 if book 7 or 8 gets away from me lengthwise.
Okay.
It has happened before. That's also why book 3 is noticeably shorter than the rest of the series, because it was it's 70,000 versus like 130,000 for the next book.
Yeah, I'm holding it in my hands right now. Yeah, I'm noticing it. Oh, there it goes. Sorry, DB.
Oh, you're good. Oh no, you dropped it. Better buy another one.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just
It's touched the ground now. It's soiled.
yeah. You soiled it.
But yeah, I think 8 books at this point is where it's going to end up. So like a Harry Potter movie series.
And how many spin-offs?
Um, those it's more flexible. Truth be told, I haven't gotten that much response on the Rose spinoff, so I think I'm just going to reintegrate some of my plans I'd had for those into the mainline books.
Okay.
Um, I have an idea for a one shot, like a shorter story starring Hiro and Yukiko, where they run into something that is a little bit more Japanese mythological rather than being the sort of Christian stuff that I usually do in Magpie Wizard.
Okay. Yeah, you should. Yeah, I'm hooked already, man. I want I
Yep.
want to read that. I might not like Hero, but Yukiko, she's a strong favorite.
Strong, independent woman who don't need no man. Actually, no. Strong, independent woman who no, who openly wants a man.
Yeah.
uh, Soren says, "I volunteer." No, not you.
No.
um, but and then from there, like I've had people propose that even if I get to the end of the Confessions of the Magpie Wizard, if I wanted to talk about his later life and just have a big break, I could do like Life of the Magpie Wizard or something like that,
Okay.
and change the format a bit
Yeah.
because he does have a long career ahead of him. Like if I was going to put a point on it, I would say that book 8 would be about 5 years after this, 5 or 6 years after the main series starts. So yeah, I have some time skipping to do.
Yeah, that's you got a lot of explanation to do.
Um, Again, one part of it is once he's actually in the Wizard Corps, uh, his life is going to get kind of dull and monotonous in places. You know the old saying that that military life is long stretches of boredom filled by brief moments of panic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be Soren's service record, like everyone's service record.
Not just poor Hero becoming paranoid all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's kind of what I also want to resolve in his one shot is him struggling to deal with repeated trauma as far as trusting certain people versus like at a certain point the paranoia keeps you from being effective when problems do happen.
Yeah. Soren. I'm sorry.
Yep, yep.
I wanted to show this.
All right.
Of course, his books are on Amazon. You got the 6 book series.
Yep. And I should mention that I have books 1 and I believe book 3 on sale on Kindle for $1 this week.
Okay, yeah, on
Um,
Kindle.
yeah, that's here. Yep, 99
Yeah, I'm
cents to
looking at
buy
the.
1, 90 cents to buy 3.
Yep.
See, I usually do some sort of price break when a new book comes out to try to nudge the people who picked up book 1 and forgot about it to maybe consider continuing.
Yeah, I mean, go that way. I'm just see you, see you guys Saturday. On Saturday, or maybe it's just in my area or something. I don't know. But
That's about right. Now, yeah, one thing you're noticing here is like if you scroll down, some of those paperbacks are actually on a really huge discount.
yeah,
My best theory is that that'll happen with a book when Amazon gets an order and the person cancels, but the book has already been published or printed, or maybe when you submit a paperback, and you print like one for yourself, it prints off another one just in case somebody else wants one. So I'm guessing that that particular book 3 is sitting in a warehouse somewhere, and the price keeps ticking down over time because most of my business is digital, and that would be the other bit of advice I would give to people who are self-publishing is that until you have like a really big base, digital distribution is the way to go because it's cheaper, so it's less of a risk for people, and they don't have to have something sitting around. Um, so like the print editions are kind of a vanity at this point. Plus, you can get author copies for yourself on the cheap, and I use those to give to people.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about doing for getting some author copies and then giving to some families and friends. So
Yep, exactly.
I thought it'd be nice and everything, but let me stop sharing that.
Oh
Don't
yeah,
want to ask.
the other bit of advice I'll give is that unless your family are legitimately jerks, uh, they are going to be proud of you and interested in what you're doing, even if it isn't their genre. Because like so funny COVID story. So 2020. That's when I'd written book one. Book two came out to Amazon in 2020. I was doing a lot of writing because what else did you have to do?
Right.
Um, and my family kept inviting me over at inopportune times. Like, yeah, it's my writing time. And I eventually did break down and tell them I was writing books and had actually published a couple specific because I realized, oh, they think I am sitting at home alone and depressed and are trying to eat up some of my spare time to be nice. And because they care about me.
Yeah, I wish I realized that earlier, but I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking. I was the same way during 2021. They were like, "Oh, you haven't been out for a while." I'm like, "Well, I've been writing, but I didn't really
Yeah.
start telling people until like maybe a month or two later, something like that."
Yeah, like just letting letting the people in your life know that you're doing what you're doing makes things go much smoother.
Yeah,
And like the other thing is that most of your families and friends won't actually care unless you happen to be writing in their perfect genre, but they'll be happy for you regardless. I mean, okay, there's exceptions. Like, yeah, I would say that despite it all, my series does actually have like a Christian background to it, just because I am pulling from C.S. Lewis and the the morals presented are largely, of course, Soren is and the characters are breaking a lot of rules against fornication, but there is a lot of self-sacrifice and camaraderie and all that good stuff.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and
I think that's a
characters
great balance you have there too. I'm sorry, but I really love that balance that you have with these characters. You know, sometimes they might say like you're excuse my French, like you're a dick, but then I like you because you save my ass, and it's like I kind of like that balance between the characters, especially with Soren. Mainly Soren. He's fascinating. He's fascinating to a point where like I want to see him succeed more than fail. Unlike Hero, I'm like, never. No, there we go. I'm getting back into Hero again. I shouldn't have done that.
but yeah, like there are families out there where I would be disowned for writing what I'm writing just because the main character is a half devil. But and I just read the room a little bit. But like it'd be like if if I okay, I'm just gonna make an example here. If I was writing Harlequin romance style books, my dad would be probably confused, but he'd be proud that I was making something.
Yeah, and I just wanted to show his Patreon, y'all.
Yep, Patreon. I have different tiers of membership that basically go towards different. You get the chapters of the week, however many weeks ahead of the free websites. Because like my treadmill conveyor belt is basically first to go first a chapter goes to the top tier, next week it moves to the second tier, third week it moves to the third tier, and so on. And then once it's out of Patreon tiers, it goes to Royal Road and other free websites. And then the hope, and this pays off to greater or lesser extent depending on how interested people are at the time. uh, this translates into people signing up for the Patreon because they read up on it on the free websites and then they can't wait.
Eldritch Sheep. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had a little bit of fun with the tier names.
I forgot about Eldritch. Oh man, I'm loving this. Is that who I think that is?
Yep, that is Pharaoh.
Oh, that's my girl. Mm, love her. I mean, I love her design. You already know I am a simp for her. She may be bad, but man, I can fix her.
I have joked about that before. Yeah, as you can see, what's public, what's not public.
Yep, there she is.
Yep,
Oh man, mm,
I love that picture.
that is one of the best. That's one that. Well, I would say I love the other one, but I'll get to that. I'm getting ahead of myself
I
now.
I really like that. So it's like with that particular picture there. That's an idea I had where it's like a magical dictaphone type thing, where you speak into the quill and it floats around and writes out the words you have. I always imagine that. So of course, like the serious answer is that she's angry at Soren for his lack of progress and is writing him an angry letter. Um, oh, by the way, like those runes that are on the thing there,
Yeah.
uh, like that's designed to guide the quill too, because
All
Magpie
right.
Wizard magic is a bit mechanistic. Um, but the joke, occasionally I'll just come up with a joke answer when someone asks me what she's actually doing there. It's like, you know, to the makers of Ben and Jerry's, you have discontinued your fudge ripple ice cream, and I wish to object in the strongest possible terms.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, she's. I hope I get to see more of her. I really do.
Well, let's just
I
say
enjoyed.
it'll be indirect for a bit.
Okay, yeah, because I really enjoyed her small screen time in the first book. I was like, oh, that's the reason why something happened to Soren, and yeah, I'm really trying not to get ahead of
Very good.
myself, but
Also, hi Michael Black.
oh no. Oh no. Hey Michael. And Daniel said, Wood, look, I'm gonna be honest, I can totally fix her. 100%. I can totally fix her. I might die in the process, but I can totally fix her.
It's worth the attempt.
Oh my gosh. And wait, let me pull this up. Come on, come on, come on. Just love it. I just love how what the hell? I can't find your profile.
On Twitter or
On you mean X?
okay. Give me a second here. I'll send this to you on Discord.
Yeah, I had it on Discord. Maybe X is down. I don't know. I'll
That's all
put in the
good.
link. Yeah, I'll put in the
Uh,
link.
just sent it your way.
It might be me. It might just be me. Yep, it's just me. I'm wow, look at me. I can't even fix X. How can I fix her, man? How?
To be fair, she is at what $40 billion website that was probably worth 10.
Okay. You might have a so this is DB's X Twitter profile, whatever you want the hell you want to call it. And as you guys can see, yes, he has the blue check mark like I guess we're in the club somehow. And he's the author of the Confessions of the Magpie Wizard series. Sign up for his mailing list here with DB Fassbinder at substack.com, and his profile pic is by Mr. K underscore 50,
MRK 50.
MRK 50. See, I thought Mr. K was kind of cool, but never mind. And I don't want to go all the way down because I have a bad habit of stumbling onto some things that I shouldn't show people.
Yeah, yeah, that is the thing. Although I usually keep my own feed fairly clean, but sometimes I get tagged and stuff.
Yeah, sorry
Uh,
about that.
no, I'm not even talking about you. but but yeah, so yeah, I mean, if you want to give my stuff a shot, if you look up Confessions of the Magpie Wizard on Royal Road, there's a free sample there you can read, and if you decide you like it, then you can uh, pick it up on Kindle.
And it's on sale right now. It's on a hefty discount and everything.
Right. I mean, you can get the first Kindle book for $1, and
Yeah,
I
that's
would actually appreciate if you did, because to quote Count Dankula, it would really help me in the algorithm.
and then follow up with "Go Away Now." That's a critical drinker.
For Critical Drinker, new sponsor. Show him some love. I've been mainlining Count Dankula lately. He has this channel I recommend, or his series I'd recommended, called Mad Lads, where he'll
Yes, I
tell
love it.
ridiculous stories. I just discovered it in the last month, and honestly,
Really?
there's like a lot of cool ideas in there.
Yeah, Mad Lads. I love. Man, I've been watching that. And yes, this is Rose. She is one of my favorites. I can definitely fix her too. I can definitely help her with
With her
that.
magic problems.
Yeah, with that match problems. Again, I might die in the process, but I can definitely fix her.
Glory, glory, it's a hell of a way
Another
to
way to
die.
die.
Oh yeah, that was my other rule with every character, is that so have you ever read a book where like the narrator is just clearly drooling over the characters, the author is typing one-handed, to be slightly crude, but you know what I mean? It's like, the guy's going over every last, and her, oh man, she was banging, and has like a whole paragraph of description. I
Yeah,
my rule when all the girls are around is that Soren is allowed to notice like one thing about them. Two guesses what Rose's defining charm point is.
yeah. I think if I remember correctly, it was something with her bosom of, and then
Uh, Well, so Rose, she doesn't skip leg day.
skip leg day. That's right. Yes. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that went over my head. Damn it. I'm
Um,
sorry. I'm being a simp right now. I can't. I have to. I have
I
to.
mean, that's part of why I get the character art, is because the characters are simpable.
I feel like I married a rope. Gosh.
Lucky man. But yeah, it's like Rose. She has the cake.
Yes.
Uh, do you have do you have more of these to switch between, or
Oh no, I don't. I thought
okay?
about it, but I was like, I don't want to. I don't want to take. I didn't want to have too much up there because I want people to actually look into your X, your Twitter, whatever. And,
I mean,
and
I have character art that I post there. I also use it, as you saw, to spice up chapters on Patreon when I feel like it.
yeah,
Because like if
yeah,
a particular character is heavily referenced in a chapter, he or she gets the image.
yeah. You done a lot with is it Miracle?
Yeah, Mariko. I mean,
Miracle. Yeah.
okay, so yeah. Um, how about this? Let me send you the key characters. 1 second. Da, 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 da. I'm just gonna shoot this over on Discord. Um, so the thing of it is that like I said, every character has one charm point that Soren is allowed to really notice on the regular. Like if the character is by themselves, then fair game. But it's like not gonna go over the whole group drooling the whole way along over every part of them. That would just be redundant and kind of skeevy.
Look, I have to agree with Soren on many things. That man definitely knows his taste. I said, yep, yep. This
Yeah,
man understands.
but yeah. So it's like with Rose, she's the she has the cake. Mariko is the stacked one. Yukiko is like she's like second best in everything. So she's technically the most attractive on a cumulative level. And then Kyo is just kind of small and cute.
Yes. Good old Miracle, right here.
Yep.
I beg to differ. I would show something else, but since we're on a soy platform that doesn't like good women,
Can't show that on a Christian stream.
I'll do it. I did it. I actually did that like a few days ago, to be honest. Eh, but
Yeah, that's
I,
Mariko. Oh,
yep, Miracle.
fun fact about that. So I'm not going to say who I work for, but I do actually work for a Japanese company. Um, so Mariko was named after Wolverine's dead wife from the 1980s Chris Claremont X-Men comics. I I
I had a
actually work
feeling.
with him. I actually work with a Mariko now, who she's an older lady, so it's I always but I was like, huh. I hope that she never finds out about this character. I mean, not that the
That's it.
character in the book, there's like a gap in the characters in the book versus the characters in the art at times.
Yeah, and I know you want me to get to the other ones, but I have to do this one. I have to. I have to, man. I just
Yeah,
this is so awesome. I love this. This is like probably like the top 5 right here for me. Top 3.
yeah, that kind of represents what's going on in this book that I'm writing right now.
Oh man, I really gotta make some progress. As Michael Black would say, oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
All right. My inner macho man Randy Savage coming out.
I'd love to snap. Oh yeah, I'd love to snap into her Slim Jim.
What have you done, DB? What have you done?
As always, brought new and wonderful horrors to this world.
Of course, this is Yukiko, I believe.
Yep.
And again, I understand why she has a hatred towards Soren. I totally understand because of what he did. That man is pretty brave. I will say that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, I mentioned earlier that I kind of took some influence from My Hero Academia. What's really funny is that Hiro and Yukiko technically had the same power set as Deku and Uraraka. When you think about it, it's just expressed
How did
differently.
I miss that? How did I miss that?
Well, to be fair, I missed that too because because Yukiko's power set is actually well, I wasn't thinking of Uraraka when I came up with her having gravity magic. What it was based on was, well, I actually explicitly cited the old Japanese saying that life is as light as a feather and duty is as heavy as a mountain. And since she is,
Okay.
the heiress to a major company,
Yeah,
that's that's reflected. Like that philosophy is reflected in her magic.
yeah, that definitely how way how she carries herself, and like I said, I like Yukiko. There's sometimes she's a straight up, pardon my French, bitch, but it's deserved. It's totally understandable within context.
It's also her. Everyone's on a journey, and to be on a journey, you have to start from a lower place.
Yeah, I just she's one hell of a thing though. I'll tell you that she's one hell of a character. Wait, a little too uptight, but that's okay because we can
You can
get the
fix her.
refresher. What?
You can fix her.
No, I know. There's no fixing that. I know my limits. There's no fixing that, man. I would know. I know. I would die in an instant.
And there's Kyo with skin as white as snow,
No, I'm not
mostly
gonna say
because she
it.
stays inside too much.
I'm not gonna say it. I almost said it, but I'm not gonna say it.
Unlike the current Snow White, is that what you're thinking?
Oh no!
Your giggles give you away.
All I can say is that she's a fun character, even if I find her a little bit weird at times. But that's what makes her charming.
Yep, she's a weird internet gremlin
Yes.
who who is surprisingly beautiful when she lets herself be. Kind of like that she's all that trope.
Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. I had to fix something real quick.
No
Yeah,
worries.
yeah, that I mean, look, I thought she was pretty cool with with the rifle and every. I mean, the way how that plays into her character, it kind of like caught me off guard, not in the bad way, but more like, oh, well, I think it kind of makes sense now that the more I think about it, with her being basically a gamer and just
Yep.
basically staying up all night.
I mean, she's learned all sorts of useful skills for a sniper, hand-eye coordination,
Coordination,
the ability to stay and still for
still.
hours on end.
Yep. Yep. Oh gosh. That girl is a trip. That girl is a trip for real, especially with what she does at times. She is truly. I really had to ask myself at times with certain points in a story, like, is she like lurking around, or like I'm just waiting for it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like she can turn invisible, so she could show up anywhere. She could technically have been watching anything.
Yeah. That makes me very uncomfortable when I think about it. And I'm
It,
just
it
like,
adds a fun little element to Soren's paranoia.
you know, I mean, honestly, I can't even blame Hero if he develops a paranoia because of that too somehow.
Yeah,
That'd be
like everybody's got to be on the lookout because you've got the socially awkward girl who likes to watch people to see what they're up to and can literally disappear.
yeah, totally. And it kind of reminded me of a little bit of Metal Gear Solid 5 of Quiet, just the aspects of her being a sniper and turning invisible. So that's what kind of made me remember that. I'm just like, hmm.
That's a happy coincidence. I haven't actually played that game yet.
Oh man, it's fun to explore. It's fun to test out a lot of things. It's very innovative for a 2015 game. But Kyo, everyone, Kyo is again, she's a gamer, and I know you gamers out there love those gamer girls a lot. Just be careful with what you say and what you do, because you may not be by yourself.
Yep, always watching.
Always watching.
I suppose we should also show them what Soren looks like.
No,
What, what no husbandos?
husbandos. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Um, let's see. I'll show this one. This one is kind of the most oddball fun
Oh
because
yes, this one. Yeah.
I was always a dinosaur and extinct animal kid. So one of my things is that the Grim Horde comes from a parallel world where there were different winners and losers in like prehistory. So like in my mind, the Neanderthal or the orcs are actually extremely derived Neanderthals.
Hmm.
It's not something that's ever come up, and I'm not. It's one of those things where like I know it, I can tell it to people, but I don't know if any characters in universe would have the language to put two and two together.
I
Because like the Grim Horde comes from a pre-industrial society that wouldn't have a concept of paleontology,
wow.
uh,
Wow. I
and
wasn't expecting that.
but that creature there is a South American animal called a macrochenia, which is basically their horse.
And Soren is just having a grand old time.
Yeah, uh, animals tend to like him, which to his annoyance.
Animals, as Marcus Phoenix from Gears of War would say, animals just love me.
Yep.
It's pretty cute. I don't know if I want that thing on me, to be honest.
I mean, it's basically just a humpless camel with a big trunk.
Yeah. Maybe they should be extinct for a reason. But I think that's everything
Yep.
for this. It's been wonderful talking with you about the Magpie Wizard, about the husbandos, the waifus, darn damn hero, and the sneaky Kyo, and I mean, it's very rich with characters, with story development, especially with how they interact with each other. It's just there's this uncanny balance to it where it's kind of like it's like they are someone like in high school or college year.
They're all 19. Um,
College, okay, yeah, it's like so like late high school, early college years. If
right,
if
and,
right.
it is a class full of people in remedial classes. They all have their own bits of stunting in their own way. Actually, I should say Mariko's technically 21. Why is she around when she's 2 years later? That's a thing for you to read when you find out.
Yeah, I'm gonna get there slowly but surely. You gotta pick up the pace, DRHINO. You gotta read the. I'm trying to savor it, man, but I just don't want to feel. I don't want to feel sad, but also happy at the same time. We're like, oh man, I finished the book. Now I gotta start a new one and start over. Then I'm gonna start liking those characters, unless it's Hero.
Well, hopefully Hero can redeem himself, or at least you enjoy disliking him. But
It's either him or Kowalski. Those are the two that really get me up there. Okay, and maybe a certain female character again with what happened at the end towards the end of the first book.
oh, a
She
certain teacher.
yeah, a certain teacher. Hmm. Oh, you're making me really. I'm clenching a fist right now. I really want to. God,
You
I
know what?
shouldn't.
Got to make the audience feel something.
I'm feeling something all right. I'm feeling like I'm going to give someone a knuckle sandwich. Mainly that one female character. That's I'm just gonna say I hope Soren gets the better of her. I hope so, man.
Oh, you'll just have
Woo.
to see.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it. But anyways, sorry for my little distraction there, guys. But this was awesome to do. The first interview, I don't know how many interviews I'm gonna plan on doing. I don't really have any interviews planned so far, other than this one. And it's been nice talking about this book, the series, these characters, the lore to it as well, and also just talking about these little these little references that that inspire us.
Yep. Well, and honestly, I know some people who would probably love to be on if so. Just let me know when you're on the hunt, and like I said, I know some people who would probably love to go on and talk about their books.
I'm not talking. Hey, I'm not gonna invite Daniel. That is a no go. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, Daniel. I wouldn't mind interviewing you, man. I gotta, I, I gotta play around here, But yeah, seriously, guys. I would love to do this again with any creative. I'm also thinking about Dave Brink from Genuine Comics as well. Trying to, but life gets in the way. Got responsibilities, yada yada yada. But I'm so grateful to have this opportunity with you, Mr. Fassbinder, and of course
Well,
as
of
well
course,
chat.
it's a pleasure to be on, and thank you for the invitation. This was a fun way to spend the evening.
Awesome. Yeah, hang on. Yeah, I love to come on, man. Well, I mean, how much you gonna pay? No, I'm just kidding. I mean, you know my payment. If it's
Right.
a villain, if it's a villainess, I can fix her. Remember, she has to be sexy, Daniel. She has to be a little bit crazy, but
Oh,
just cra-
that'll be the what's her name? That'll be the blonde villain commander character, the one who's based on what's the name? Basic Instinct.
yeah. Yeah, Daniel knows. Daniel knows who I'm talking about.
Yep.
You know exactly. But anyway, all right, y'all. I'm gonna call this a night. And again, see you guys maybe next week, maybe tomorrow. Who knows? Alrighty. See
Good
ya.
night, everyone.